Hello, hello. Welcome to my channel. My name is Amber Roy and I'm the Modern Hippie. If you're new here, this channel is where I share all of my tips, tricks, hacks, how-tos, and experiences on this journey to living more sustainably. Today, I have a really exciting announcement to make, and that is that I have officially been a vegetarian for over 1 year. A whole year of not eating meat, just eating vegetables. Actually, in the beginning stages of my journey, I was originally trying to go plant-based, or vegan, if you will. So I was vegan for the first, I'll call it vegan-ish, for the first 2 months, and I transitioned to a vegetarian diet thereafter. So today I really just wanted to dive in a little bit more about my why and my reason for becoming vegetarian, but I also wanted to talk about some of the pros and the cons and my personal experiences in this last year of eating a vegetarian diet. So let's start from the top, which is, what is my reason for going vegetarian anyway? Well, the first and the primary reason for me choosing a vegetarian diet this past year is the environment. And I'm not going to ramble off a whole bunch of statistics because that's not what this video is about today. This video is celebrating my 1 year anniversary as a vegetarian and my personal experience and my personal journey through eating more plants. My second reason is health related. And to make a long story short, I had a chronic injury in my left wrist that left it weak and gave me pain every time I used it. So use of my left hand and my left wrist was very limited and my muscles began to atrophy. I developed a large, we don't know what it was, cyst or something on my left wrist, and it really limited my mobility. If I carried bags, if I was opening doors or driving or just doing too many things with my left wrist, would lead to my entire left forearm swelling up and shooting pains and just like inability to use it for like a day or two. Fast forward, I went through 5 specialists, was on a wait list to get an MRI, which if you are Canadian or you're familiar with the Canadian healthcare system, you know that takes years. Ultimately, I was fed up and frustrated with the waiting process, and I was willing and open to trying anything that I could, really. As cliche as it may sound, I watched the documentary Game Changers, and it really inspired me to also make this decision for health purposes. So the reason why I literally watched Game Changers and overnight became a vegan. Because I want to end this video on a more positive note, I'm gonna start with some of the struggles or challenges I've had eating a vegetarian diet in the past year. I think most vegetarians and vegans will agree with me on this one. My biggest source of frustration, and honestly the thing that exhausted me, was the incessant need, or at least I felt it was an incessant need, to defend my eating choices from people who choose to eat meat. The constant need to educate or respond and defend my choices was really overwhelming and really emotional and really hard, to be honest. Thank God for technology, because I built an incredible community of like-minded individuals who followed a vegetarian, vegan, or plant-based diet, and really helped get me through those first days where I felt kind of alone and overwhelmed and emotional and attacked. And they got me through it. So shout out to all of you guys. The next struggle and hurdle is when you go out for food, the lack of options. So I'm currently living in southern Italy, and it's a pretty traditional part of Italy. So they're not used to veganism or vegetarianism. And so my options are basically a pasta with tomato sauce or a salad. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm not a rabbit. And so a head of romaine lettuce isn't gonna cut it for me. So I think that part was really disappointing, just the lack of variety available. And then I would have to say how expensive it is when you're first starting out for lack of knowledge. what you don't have in tools or like technical instruments or recipes or knowledge, you need to then purchase a substitute. And oftentimes those alternatives are not as cost effective as the real ingredients. So the beginning stages often were a little pricier because I was just buying pre-packaged, pre-made vegetarian or plant-based food items instead of making them myself because I just didn't know how. And that was a little bit more expensive. So if you're buying pre-packaged vegetarian or plant-based foods, it can get a little bit pricey, again, depending on the availability of the products and the region where you're located. But in my experience, doing all of this from Italy, where it's not widely available, it was a little bit more expensive. Another struggle or challenge that I faced was a massive learning curve. So being a meat eater for so many years, sometimes you can really rely on the flavor and the fats and the meats that you're using versus relying on spices and different cooking methods and all these other tips and tricks that you learn as someone who eats a plant-based or vegetarian diet. There was so much that I didn't know and needed to learn how to do, different cooking techniques, different ingredients that I'd never worked with before. And so when you start cooking, you begin to learn how to cook ingredients and you learn how they're going to respond and what they're going to do in specific foods, how they're going to make it taste. But when you're adding a whole bunch of ingredients that you've never used before, you're kind of restarting that entire process. You're learning how you can use, like what you can use soy milk in, you're learning what you can use rice milk in and how it's going to react when you bake and how it's going to react when you roast it or how it's going to react when you saute it. So it was really just kind of learning techniques and how to process a lot of alternative ingredients that I've never used before. It's to be expected, but in the beginning, it was a little bit overwhelming when you kind of add that into all of the other changes that you're making. So I will say that I kind of jumped right into the fire because I didn't scale back what I was eating for meat. I went right into veganism and plant-based eating, which means no dairy products, like no cheese, no butters, no milks, none of that. And so it was completely different from anything I'd ever done in the past. And so that's probably why it was as overwhelming. And I think if I had to do it over again, I would start out as a vegetarian and then turn to veganism once I'd kind of begun at least to learn how to cook and work more with the vegetables that are available to me. My last and final bone to pick, if you will, would be that there are more animal products and meat in plates and recipes than you know. And so sometimes when you're eating meals or goods that have been baked or cooked by someone else, that you kind of need to have spidey senses for it. And it kind of makes those situations a little bit more difficult because sometimes these recipes have been cooked with animal products or meat, which do not fall in line with your values and don't fall in line with your diet. You have to have some maybe not as comfortable conversations with people, but I've always had a really good response and they're always usually really sorry, and I really just try to see it as an opportunity to spread a little bit more love and let them know that it's all good, and I would be more than happy to share some plant-based or vegetarian recipes or alternatives with them that are really close to the animal-based recipes. And now for the best part. Not only am I choosing to continue to follow a vegetarian diet, I plan to fully transition to a plant-based diet in 2021. And here are some of the reasons why. I think the largest driving factor behind my choice to continue this diet is my health and just knowing that this is the right path for me, because proof is in the pudding, people. My left wrist no longer has a lump. I've regained my range of motion. I've regained daily use of my left hand. I can open bottles and jars and doors. I can even do some push-ups. So I'm a happy girl, and there is no reason for me to continue to use steroid injections or to go and get an MRI or to get a fasciotomy for that matter, because I'm doing good. The next would be a massive sense of relief, to be honest. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with the term eco-guilt or eco-anxiety, but I definitely have both of those, and it's just the feeling that we're not doing enough to combat global warming and climate change. And so I really wanted to increase my personal contribution. I want to leave a legacy behind for my children to be proud of. And cutting meat and animal products out of my diet for any period of time is a massive contribution, more so than cutting out cars or anything like that. So that would be the next biggest positive, I think, that came from all of this. Through this journey, I've also really upped my cooking game and my cooking skills, my knowledge when it comes to different foods and vegetables and spices and what you can pair, what is a good alternative. So I really just became a lot more empowered in the kitchen. No longer do I look at vegetables the same anymore. Before I used to consider them rabbit food, and now vegetables are exciting to me, and there's so much you can do and so much flavor that you can pack into one dish, and I get excited about cooking with vegetables. It's given me this renewed sense of curiosity and inspiration when it comes to cooking in the kitchen. Now, I know that I mentioned that in the beginning it can be a little bit more costly, but it doesn't have to be. Following a vegetarian or a plant-based diet is actually cheaper in the long run. You might be relying on those prepackaged foods in the beginning, but once you learn how to make a lot of these options yourself at home, it's actually really cost effective, and you can save quite a bit of money every week. I was spending $60 to $90 a week at the grocery store before. I now spend maybe $20 to $30 a week at the grocery store to pick up all of my ingredients and staples. And I hope to reduce that even more by growing my own produce and ingredients in the years to come. And the last, but probably one of my most favorite parts, is the community and the friendships I've made on this journey. I have met a few of the angry vegans, and I think we all have come across some of them in our lifetime. But for the most part, I find that vegans nowadays and plant-based eaters and vegetarians are all very supportive and non-judgmental, and are really just trying to encourage you and provide you with the resources and the information and the tools to live a healthier lifestyle and a more conscious lifestyle and a more sustainable lifestyle. And that is the entire reason why I'm doing this. And so I think being met with that support and that love and that compassion has really made all the difference. And I so appreciate their time and energy and knowledge that they've shared with me this past year. I'm honestly feeling a little bit proud of my decision to transition to a vegetarian diet last year and sticking with it. It has not been easy, but I do think it has been extremely worthwhile, and the pros 100% outweigh the cons. I can't wait to take this to the next level and explore a plant-based diet 100% in the year 2021. So I'm a little curious. Are there any omnivores currently watching this video and wondering how to incorporate more plants into their lifestyle, or considering incorporating more plants into their diet and lifestyle? And if you're not an omnivore and you are already a vegan or a vegetarian, what are some of the struggles you have faced in your journey? And what are some of your biggest successes and the biggest positives that have come as a result of your journey? Please, please, please talk to me in the comment section below. I'm here to connect with you, and I want to learn more about your story. As always, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really grateful that you took some time to watch little old me. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button below and the little bell beside it so that you're notified the next time I post a new video.